On a stormy night, a young woman steps into an ancient library in search of a forgotten book. But what she finds is not knowledge, not history, but something alive, something that whispers her name. Each shadow watches, each shelf breathes, and one terrible secret waits to be opened. Will she uncover love, or lose herself forever? Stay with me, because what happens inside these walls will haunt you long after the last page turns. The rain tapped against the tall windows of the old city library. The air inside was heavy with the scent of paper, damp wood, and forgotten history. Evelyn Hart, a 23-year-old woman, stood at the entrance. She was slender, with auburn hair tied loosely at the back, her coat still damp from the storm. Her eyes, a shade of deep hazel, scanned the cavernous hall that seemed far too silent for comfort. She had come seeking a rare book for her research in literature. The university archives had pointed her here, to a library so ancient that even locals whispered it held more than just books. Rows upon rows of shelves stretched into the gloom. The lamps above flickered softly, casting shadows that moved as if alive. Evelyn stepped forward. The wooden floor creaked under her boots, echoing in the silence. Her breath formed a faint mist in the cold air, as though the library itself resisted warmth. A faint sound broke the stillness. Not the rain, not her own footsteps. It was a whisper. Her heart tightened. She stopped mid-step, her body stiff. The whisper came again, low and fragile, like pages brushing together. Evelyn. Her name. Clear. Soft. Impossible. No one should have known her name here. She had told no one of her visit. She had spoken to no one since leaving her flat. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the strap of her satchel. Her ears strained, trying to catch the direction of the voice. The shelves loomed on either side, towering, almost suffocating. Her hazel eyes darted between the dusty spines of forgotten books. No movement, no figure, yet the presence was undeniable. She forced herself forward, each step heavier than the last. Her skin prickled, the tiny hairs on her arms rising beneath a damp coat. She reached an aisle that seemed darker than the rest. The air here was colder, the shadows deeper. Another whisper drifted, this time closer, this time urgent. Do not open it. Evelyn froze. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Her lips parted, but no sound escaped. Then, on the nearest shelf, her eyes caught it. A book, ancient, its cover a dark, cracked leather. Unlike the others, it had no title. She felt drawn, pulled, as if invisible threads bound her to it. Her fingers reached forward, hesitant, trembling. The dust rose around it, swirling like smoke disturbed from a long slumber. The whisper surged, louder, almost pleading. Do not open it. Evelyn. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Her breath came fast and shallow. Her fingertips brushed the leather. The library light above her flickered violently. And then the book moved. It slid an inch forward on its own, as if something inside wanted out. Evelyn staggered back, her hand flying to her mouth. Her legs weakened under her, her mind screaming to run. But her eyes would not look away. The old library had awakened, and it knew her name. Evelyn's breath quivered as she stepped back from the shelf. The book still rested there, unmoved now, silent, yet her skin burned with the memory of its sudden shift. She turned, desperate to leave the aisle. The silence pressed against her ears, heavy and unnatural. But then she heard it. A cough. Human. Real. Her heart jumped. From the far corner of the hall, a figure emerged. A man. Tall, broad-shouldered, his posture steady but weary. He looked around 26. Dark hair slightly unkempt, falling over his forehead. His face bore sharp lines, with eyes that seemed both cautious and curious. He wore a long wool coat, gray with rain, the collar raised. His trousers were black, his boots polished but worn at the edges. In his hand, he held a leather satchel much like hers, though older and frayed. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world hushed. Evelyn's fear shifted, tangled with something else she could not name. The man spoke, his voice low but clear. You heard it too, did you not? Evelyn's lips parted, but the words caught in her throat. She swallowed, then forced them out. The whisper, it knew my name. The man's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, his boots echoing across the wooden floor. "My name is Adrian Blackwell," he said at last. "I am a historian, 26 years of age. I have studied this library for months, and I know this." He stopped mid-sentence, glancing toward the aisle where the book sat today. His eyes darkened, filled with something between recognition and dread. "That book!" he whispered. "You must never touch it." Evelyn's heart thudded harder. The memory of the whisper still echoed inside her skull. "Why not?" she asked. Her voice trembled despite her effort to stay firm. Adrian hesitated, then lowered his tone. "Because once it is opened, it does not close, and it will not release you." Evelyn's pulse quickened, her chest rising and falling in sharp breaths. Her mind swirled with questions, each one clawing for space. "How do you know this?" she demanded. "Why were you here? At this hour?" Adrian's gaze fixed on her, his eyes deep and unflinching. "Because I made the same mistake once," he said quietly, "and I have been trying to undo it ever since." The lamps flickered again. The shelves groaned, as though the library itself stirred at his words. Evelyn felt a chill spread down her spine. Adrian's presence, though human, carried an unsettling weight. The way he looked at her, it was as though he already knew what was bound to happen. The silence grew sharper, more dangerous. And then, faint but undeniable, the whisper returned. This time it called not just Evelyn's name. It called his too. Adrian. Evelyn. Their names together. Bound. Entwined by something unseen. Evelyn's hands tightened on her satchel. Her eyes flickered to Adrian's. For the first time, she noticed a faint tremor in his hand. He was afraid, and that terrified her even more. The library groaned as though alive. The shelves seemed to lean closer. The lamps flickered, casting long, crooked shadows that stretched across the floor. The very air felt thicker, harder to breathe. Evelyn pressed her back against the cold wood of the nearest shelf. Her chest rose and fell with shallow, urgent breaths. Adrian remained still, his eyes fixed on the dark leather book that had shifted before. His lips pressed into a tight line, as though holding back words he dared not speak. Evelyn broke the silence. "Tell me what this is." Her voice was sharp, though her hands trembled. Adrian's throat worked as he swallowed. "It is not a book in the way you think. It records more than stories. It binds them. It traps souls." Evelyn's eyes widened, a faint chill crawling over her skin. "Souls," she repeated, barely a whisper. Adrian nodded. "I opened it once. I thought it was legend. I thought I would find history inside. Instead, I found something that still follows me." The whisper returned, slithering through the aisles like smoke. Not just words now. Breath. A faint exhale that seemed to brush against Evelyn's ear. Her body jolted. Her eyes snapped to Adrian. "Do you hear that?" "Yes," he said grimly. "It is never silent for long." The floor beneath him gave a faint vibration, subtle but real. Evelyn felt it through her boots. The shelves rattled slightly, a sound like teeth chattering in the dark. Her gaze darted back to the book. The cracked leather cover seemed to ripple, as though something inside breathed. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. The edges of the book trembled. Dust trickled down from the shelf. Adrian stepped forward quickly, placing his body between Evelyn and the shelf. His voice lowered, steady but tense. "Do not look at it too long. It notices when you do." Evelyn's fingers dug into her satchel strap. Her pulse hammered. Her voice shook. "Why did it call my name? Why me?" Adrian turned his head slightly, his eyes shadowed by the dim light. "Because it chooses. It seeks those who will not resist. Those who are bound by loneliness, by longing. That is how it draws you." Evelyn's lips parted, but no words formed. The truth in his voice struck deeper than the chill of the library air. She wanted to deny it, but she could not. The sound came again. Not a whisper, not a breath. A soft thud. The book had moved again, closer to the edge. And then, before either of them could react, it slid from the shelf entirely. It fell. The air cracked with the impact. But when it struck the wooden floor, it did not open. Instead, it pulsed. A faint glow seeped through the cracks of the cover. A heartbeat. Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes watered from the intensity of it. Adrian's voice came out hoarse, strained. It is awake now, and it will not stop until it is opened. The glow spread across the floorboards, faint lines stretching like veins. The entire library seemed to exhale. Evelyn felt it in her bones. The library was alive, and it wanted them both. The glow spread wider across the floor. Veins of light crawled over the ancient wood, weaving toward their boots like roots searching for soil. Evelyn stumbled back, her breath sharp, ragged. Her heart thudded violently in her chest. Adrian dropped to one knee, his hand gripping the book tightly. The leather burned against his skin, but he refused to let go. "Do not let it open," he growled through clenched teeth. "Whatever happens, do not look inside." Evelyn's eyes fixed on the book. It trembled violently, as though alive, its cover stretching, resisting his grip. The faint glow leaked stronger now, pulsing with rhythm like a living heart. Her ears filled with a sound that made her stomach twist. Not whispers, not breath, but voices. Dozens of them, screaming. Her knees weakened. Her palms grew clammy. She pressed her back against the shelf, desperate to keep her balance. "Adrian, what is inside?" she cried, her voice breaking. Adrian's jaw clenched. His dark hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. He strained, his knuckles white as a book writhed in his hands. "You do not want to know," he spat. His eyes lifted, meeting hers with a haunted stare. "I heard them once. I listened, and they have never stopped." The book jerked violently. The clasp at its side snapped loose with a metallic crack. Evelyn gasped, her hazel eyes widening. The glow surged, spilling like liquid light across the floor. Adrian snarled, forcing his weight against it. His body trembled with the effort. "Help me," he barked. Evelyn's legs moved before her mind agreed. She lunged forward, falling to her knees beside him. Her fingers closed over the edge of the book. It felt alive, hot. The leather pulsed under her skin, as though veins ran beneath its surface. She gagged at the stench that rose from it, damp earth, rot, and old blood. The voices screamed louder, clawing at her skull. She bit down hard on her lip, refusing to let go. Together they pressed the cover shut. The wood beneath them cracked from the strain, as if the floor itself resisted their effort. Evelyn cried out, her arms shaking, her muscles screaming with pain. Adrian shouted over the roar of voices, "Do not listen. Do not let them in." The library shook. Dust rained down from the rafters. Shelves rattled violently, books tumbling to the floor in heavy thuds. And then, silence. The glow died. The voices cut off mid-scream. The book lay still in their hands. Evelyn collapsed back, her chest heaving, sweat dampening her brow. Her hands shook violently as she pulled them free. Adrian sat beside her, his own breath labored, his eyes dark with exhaustion. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian's voice broke the silence, low and heavy. "You see now. This is why I told you never to touch it." Evelyn turned her head, her voice hoarse. "Then why are you still here? Why not destroy it?" Adrian's eyes shifted to the book. The corners of his lips trembled, not quite a smile, not quite despair. "Because I cannot," he whispered. "No one can. The library does not allow it. The book chooses, and once it chooses, it never lets go." Evelyn's hazel eyes widened, her chest tightening with fear. "Are you saying," she whispered. Her throat tightened. "Are you saying it has chosen me?" Adrian's silence was the only answer. The lamps flickered once more, and from the shadows at the far end of the hall, something moved. Not human, not fully seen, but watching. The silence pressed heavily after the struggle with the book. Evelyn's ears rang with the ghost of those screams, even though they had stopped. Her body ached, her arms weak from the effort. She wanted to believe it was over, but the air told her otherwise. It was thicker now, darker, charged with something that seemed to crawl against her skin. Adrian's eyes shifted toward the far end of the hall. His body stiffened, his hand tightening around the satchel at his side. Evelyn followed his gaze. The shadows there seemed heavier, deeper, as though the lamps had failed to reach that part of the library. And then, movement. Slow, deliberate. Something brushing against the rows of shelves, too large to be a rat, too fluid to be human footsteps. Evelyn's heart thudded painfully. Her breath quickened. "Adrian, do you see it?" she whispered. He gave the faintest nod. "Stay behind me." He rose to his feet, tall and steady despite the tremor in his hand. The coat around his shoulders shifted as he stepped forward, every sound of his boot echoing louder than it should have in the silence. The shadow moved again. A faint scraping sound followed it, like fingernails dragging across wood. Evelyn pressed a hand to her chest, her hazel eyes wide. Her senses sharpened. She could smell something now, damp, metallic, almost like rusted iron. Her skin prickled. She wanted to close her eyes, but fear held them open. "Who is there?" Adrian's voice rang out, strong though edged with tension. His words bounced off the high stone walls, swallowed by the shadows. No reply, only the sound of soft, deliberate breathing. Evelyn's throat tightened. It was not hers. It was not Adrian's. It came from the dark. The shelves rattled suddenly, books spilling to the floor with heavy thuds. Evelyn jumped, stifling a cry with her hand. Adrian took another step forward, his jaw set. "Show yourself." The shadow shifted again, and for the briefest moment, Evelyn thought she saw eyes. Pale, reflective, like glass catching the dim light. Then they were gone. Her knees weakened. Her mind screamed for her to run, yet her body refused to move. Adrian's voice lowered, almost for her alone. "It follows a book. Wherever it rests, it is never far." The breathing grew louder, closer, as if it now circled them. Evelyn's hazel eyes darted wildly, trying to catch a glimpse, trying to understand. Then, without warning, a whisper slipped into her ear. Not from the book, not from the shelves, from right behind her. "Evelyn." She spun, her heart crashing against her ribs. But there was nothing there. Nothing, except a faint trace of cold air brushing her cheek. Adrian grabbed her wrist, pulling her sharply. "Do not answer it," he hissed. "Do not ever answer when it calls your name." Evelyn's chest heaved, her mind spinning. Her lips trembled with words she could not speak, because she realized something. Something Adrian had not yet said. The shadow had not whispered only her name. She had heard his too. The air pressed heavier, as though the very library leaned in to listen. Evelyn's pulse hammered in her ears, her hazel eyes darting across the dark aisles. The cold whisper still clung to her skin, her name echoing in her skull. Adrian's grip on her wrist tightened, steadying her trembling. His eyes stayed locked on the shadows. He did not blink. He did not breathe deeply, as though even sound might draw it closer. Then it stepped forward. From between the shelves, a shape emerged. It was tall, impossibly tall, its shoulders brushing the hanging lamps though its body seemed bent, broken at the joints. Its skin was gray, stretched thin, almost translucent, veins pulsing faintly beneath it. Its eyes, those glassy orbs she had glimpsed before, glowed faintly white, reflecting the light without warmth. Its arms were too long, hanging past its knees, fingers ending in blackened tips that scraped against the wood. Each step it took was soundless, but the floor groaned beneath its weight. Evelyn's breath caught. Her chest tightened as though invisible hands pressed against it. Her body wanted to collapse, but terror held her rigid. The figure did not rush. It only watched. Watched her. Adrian stepped in front of her, his coat brushing her knees. His voice was calm, but it shook faintly at the edges. "Stay behind me. Do not speak to it." Evelyn's lips trembled. Her throat felt raw, but she forced words out. "What is it?" Adrian did not look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on the creature. "It is the Watcher, the one that keeps the book. It hunts whoever the book calls." The creature tilted its head at Adrian's voice. Its neck cracked with a movement, bones shifting beneath thin skin. Then it opened its mouth. Not wide, not like a scream, just a small parting of its lips. And the voices came. The same scream she had heard inside the book now poured from the creature. Dozens, hundreds, a storm of agony erupting into the vast library. Evelyn's hands clamped over her ears, but it did not stop the sound. The voices pushed into her skull, clawing, demanding. She staggered back, hitting the shelves, books toppling around her. Adrian moved quickly, reaching into his satchel. From it, He drew a thin chain, a silver amulet glinting faintly in the dim light. He raised it high, his voice firm. "Back!" he shouted, his tone edged with authority. "You have no claim over her." The watcher recoiled slightly, its glowing eyes narrowing, the voices lowering to a murmur. But it did not retreat. Instead, its eyes shifted, from Evelyn to Adrian, and when it spoke, the voices stopped. It spoke with one voice. One clear, sharp, human voice. "Liar." Evelyn's breath hitched. Her wide hazel eyes snapped to Adrian. "What does it mean?" she whispered. Adrian did not answer. His jaw clenched. His shoulders tightened. The watcher tilted its head again. And in that single word, Evelyn heard something worse than fear. She heard truth. The watcher's pale eyes did not blink. Its mouth hung slightly open, but the single word it had spoken still clung to the air like smoke. "Liar." Evelyn's body shook. Her hazel eyes flickered to Adrian, searching his face. His jaw was clenched tight, but his silence told her more than words ever could. "What does it mean?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The sound of her own voice felt dangerous, as though the library leaned in closer just to hear it. Adrian did not answer. Not at first. His hand remained raised, the silver amulet glinting weakly in the dim light. The watcher hissed, but it did not step forward. Finally, his voice broke the heavy silence. "I told you I opened the book once," he said quietly. His eyes stayed fixed on the creature. "But I did not tell you everything I did after." Evelyn's chest tightened. She wanted to move, to step away from him, but fear rooted her to the floor. Adrian's voice lowered further, each word heavy. "When I opened it, the book showed me her. A woman. She was trapped inside, begging me to free her. I believed she was real. I believed she could be saved. So I—" He stopped, his throat tightening. The watcher's glowing eyes widened, almost with hunger, almost with delight. Evelyn's breath hitched. "You what?" Adrian's hand trembled, the amulet shaking faintly. "I spoke her name aloud, and in doing so, I gave her mine. The book does not free souls. It trades them. She walked free, and I became bound." Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth. Her hazel eyes filled with disbelief, her heart racing. "You are saying," her words broke, "you are part of it, part of the book." Adrian's eyes finally tore away from the watcher to meet his. They were dark, weary, filled with pain. "Yes, I am tied to it. I have been ever since. That is why I know its rules. That is why it whispers to you, because the moment you touched it, you became part of its story too." Evelyn staggered back, her chest tightening. Her mind reeled with his words, with the truth spilling from him at last. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But the watcher's presence pinned her in place. The creature tilted its head, those long fingers curling, scraping against the wood with a shrill hiss. It took a single step closer, the shelves rattling with the weight of it. And when it spoke again, its voice was no longer one word. It was many voices, layered together, cold and unrelenting. "You belong to us." The lights above shattered. The library plunged into darkness. Evelyn screamed. The library sank into darkness. Only the faint glow from the book on the floor lit the vast hole, pulsing like a dying star. Evelyn's scream faded into trembling breaths. Her hazel eyes darted wildly, searching for Adrian, searching for the watcher. Shadows twisted across the walls, moving though nothing seemed to cast them. Adrian's hand found Hayes in the dark. His grip was strong, almost desperate. "Listen to me," he whispered. "This is your only chance. Do not answer it, no matter what you hear. Do not speak your name." The watcher's pale eyes glowed in the dark, fixed upon them. Its body shifted, joints cracking as it moved closer, its long fingers brushing against the glowing book. The voices returned. Screams, whispers, pleading cries that clawed at Evelyn's mind. And then one voice rose above the rest. Soft, familiar, Evelyn. Her heart froze. Her mother's voice, gentle, warm, a sound she had not heard in years since her death. Tears burned Evelyn's eyes. Her lips parted, trembling. Adrian's grip on her hand tightened, pulling her closer to him. "It is not her," he hissed. "Do not believe it. That is how it binds you. But the voice came again. Evelyn, my sweet girl, open the book and free me. Her chest ached. Her mind screamed at her not to, but her heart ached with longing. The watcher bent lower, its pale eyes glowing brighter, its mouth opening wider as if to swallow the light. The voices poured louder, desperate, demanding. Adrian raised the silver amulet high. The chain cut into his hand as he shouted words Evelyn could not understand, ancient, sharp, burning the air around them. The watcher recoiled, shrieking with a chorus of stolen voices. The book on the floor throbbed violently, its cover straining, its pages forcing against the clasps. Adrian turned to Evelyn, his face pale, sweat dripping from his brow. This is it. Either I end this, or it ends us. But the cost. His voice broke, his eyes softened. The cost will be me. Evelyn's heart lurched. Her hand reached for him, but he pulled free, stepping toward the book. No, she cried, her voice breaking, tears spilling down her cheeks. Adrian's voice rose, strong and final. If it takes me, it spares you. The watcher roared. The ground shook. The shelves rattled violently as books rained down. Adrian dropped to his knees over the book, pressing the amulet to its cover. Light exploded, searing, blinding. The watcher screamed, its body twisting, folding in on itself before shattering into dust. Evelyn shielded her eyes, sobbing, calling his name. When the light faded, the library was silent once more. The shelves stood still. The shadows were gone. The book lay closed on the floor. The amulet melted into its leather cover, sealing it shut. Evelyn crawled forward, her hand shaking as she reached for Adrian. But he was not there. Only his coat remained, folded neatly where he had knelt. Her hazel eyes blurred with tears. Her chest ached with grief, yet a strange stillness filled the hall. The whispers were gone. Evelyn pressed her forehead to the floor, clutching the empty coat. The silence rang louder than any scream. And then she heard it, not from the shelves, not from the shadows, from within her own mind. Adrian's voice, low, calm, unyielding. Do not let it open. Evelyn. Her heart cracked at the sound, but she understood. She rose slowly, clutching his coat tight against her chest. The library seemed to breathe softer now, almost asleep again. Evelyn walked to the door, her steps heavy, her body trembling. The rain still tapped against the tall windows, just as it had when she first entered. As she reached the threshold, she glanced back one last time. The book sat silent, sealed, but she knew it had not ended, not truly. The story had only turned its next page. And now, she was part of it. In the end, Evelyn learns that not every mystery deserves to be solved, and not every voice from the past should be answered. True love is not found in whispers of temptation, but in sacrifice, courage, and truth. Remember, curiosity can open doors that should remain closed. If this tale gripped you, do not forget to like, subscribe, and join me for more haunting stories of mystery, love, and fate.